Local government and planning, that just fills my life. Throw a bit of roadside drug testing and policing, and I've got a busy life. Thanks very much for the invitation today, and it's always a pleasure to be in Newcastle and at the Gallipoli Club, and to remember that we're on Aboriginal land, always was and always will be. Yep. They've never given it away, they never agreed to the amalgamation, and we should acknowledge that, we should acknowledge sovereignty, and we should insist on a treaty. If we had a state government calling for a treaty rather than amalgamation, they'd have my support. Why are we here? Well, there's probably more people here at this public meeting than there was at the public meeting being run in the official process for the amalgamation. Now, I hope you've all pre-registered. I hope you pre-registered last week in order to ensure that you come to a public meeting. And because if you want to know why so few people turned up to the public meeting that was held in Newcastle for the official amalgamation process, it's because they didn't want anybody to turn up to the meeting that was being held for the official process. Now, I've been on local government for myself for 2 terms in my local council. I've seen public submission processes and public hearings happening all around the place. I've been in court, I'm a barrister for about 7 years, I've done all sorts of things. And whenever I've seen a process that involves engaging with people and hearing if you really want to hear what they think, it normally is 2 steps. One, you get them to write a submission, and then after they've written their submission, you invite them in to speak to their submission because they've had time to think about it, and they can put their arguments forward. But this amalgamation process, with these 18 notionally independent delegates that are assessing the 35 different amalgamation proposals, every single occasion they've decided to have the public hearing in the first week of the process, 3.5 or 4 weeks before everybody's submissions are finalised and put in. Have you actually ever heard of that process happening in anywhere else? Where your written submission, the one that you spend the time and think about and sweat, blood and tears over, is 3 weeks after your chance to stand up in front of the decision maker or the report writer and make a public submission. I've never heard of it happening before. Why are they doing it? Well, they're obviously doing it because they wanted to ensure they had as few people as possible come to the so-called public inquiries. And why is it that every one of the notionally independent delegates has come up with the same process? Well, I would suggest that they've all been told what to do by the Department of Premier and Cabinet. So, just to take one step back, what's the animal we're dealing with at the moment? Well, the animal you're dealing with is a delegate of the Chief Executive Officer of the Office of Local Government. That's who's assessing this amalgamation process. Because there are 2 ways the Minister can push this through, the government can push this through for an amalgamation. One is to go through the Boundaries Commission and have the Boundaries Commission assess the amalgamation process. But the Boundaries Commission is a little bit harder to control because there'll be at least one genuinely independent member of the 3-member Boundaries Commission. So they didn't do that. Instead, they've gone through a process which has, under the Local Government Act, basically the same process, which allows the Chief Executive Officer, the Chief Bureaucrat in the Office of Local Government to assess the process. And they've referred these 35 proposals off to the Senior Bureaucrat in the Office of Local Government, and then that bureaucrat has delegated down to the 18 different appointed delegates to exercise the power of that bureaucrat to review and assess everything. Now, they're all meant to have the full powers of the office of the Chief Executive Officer of Local Government, and they're all meant to be absolutely independent of the Premier's Department. But we know that this entire process is being run out of the Premier's Department, and in fact, as soon as these delegates were appointed, my office sent a letter to each and every one of them. Nice to hear you've been appointed as a delegate. How are the kids? Lovely to talk to you. And would you mind holding a plebiscite? Because you've all got the statutory power. Each of these delegates has the statutory power to hold a plebiscite. And we got a quick response back from one of them, which just said, "Thank you for your letter. Kids are well, and we have been told that we're not allowed to hold a plebiscite." Okay. He copied in one of the guy who was poached from the Office of Local Government, who's now in the Department of Premier and Cabinet, who's actually the brains trust for this for the state government, a guy called Steve Orr. Copied him into the email. And Steve Orr obviously intervened, because straight away we got a further email back from this same guy an hour afterwards saying, "Oh look, in relation to my previous email, I got that a bit wrong. I do have the power and the discretion, and I've just decided to exercise my discretion not to have a plebiscite. All right. I don't think they're genuinely independent. I think they've been given writing instructions from the Department of Premier and Cabinet. I think we'll be able to prove that. We'll put a series of Kipper applications in, and if we can prove that, they are extremely legally vulnerable. And they may go through this entire charade process, and there's a whole bunch of cashed-up councils all around the state looking to take them to the Supreme Court, press the self-destruct button, and make this whole process start again. That's a nightmare for the state government. We need to make sure that's a nightmare they live. Just quickly, this secrecy, and my office came up with this slide while I was travelling to Dungog to talk about amalgamation today. I quite like it, secrecy and deceit. It kind of talks about what's happening in the process. Just quickly, we'll just go through the documents that we've got from the government. Because they've got, their case for amalgamations is based upon a KPMG consultant report, or a whole series of them, which is where all the numbers come out. You know, this notional $65 million saving that you'll get from the amalgamation of the two councils. Us as taxpayers will tip $20 million in, and then there's another $65 million that's meant to come about mainly from staff cuts over the next 20 years. So we want to know how they came up with that. So we said we're putting 3 Kipper applications in just before Christmas. The first was to the Department of Premier and Cabinet. Can we go to the next one? And we found out from the Department of Premier and Cabinet that there are 25 secret reports analysing the costs and the impacts of the 35 Force Council amalgamations. 25 reports. Most of these are KPMG options analysis reports. We'll go to the next page. And then you'll see, in addition, they've got a business case, they've got a local government reform document, they've got a summary on regional options, they've got a summary on metro options, and they've got a KPM model design methodology paper. The business case is October 2015. Every single one of these 25 documents has been hidden and stamped Cabinet in confidence, and they haven't given them to any of the delegates, they haven't given them to the public, but these are the documents upon which the bullshit $65 million savings is based, and these are the documents that show, I think if we had it, how deceitful and how rubbery all these figures are. And they've stamped them Cabinet in confidence and refused to release them. Worse than that, the Department of Premier and Cabinet hasn't even got the models, and I think Tim spoke about it earlier, because the other part about Kipper, we said, show us the modelling. Show us how you came up with these figures. And what they ultimately said was, oh, KPMG did the modelling. It's a proprietary model. We've never asked for it. We've never seen it. We just got the end result. And we've never had the document. So can we just go to the next slide? We asked the Office of Local Government at the same time, show us all the KPMG modelling. It's exactly the same question. Show us all the documents. And the Office of Local Government is the brains trust on local government for the state government, to the extent they have one. It's the bureaucrats that have been running local government for more than a century in New South Wales. And if you go there, that's kind of true. We asked them to show us all the KPMG reports. The answer we got back from them was, we've never seen them, we don't know what you're talking about, we've never had them, hope you have a lovely day. They've never seen them. They were never given them. The Office of Local Government has been entirely bypassed. This has been run out of the Department of Premier and Cabinet. They didn't even ask the bureaucracy to check the veracity of the KPMG figures. Just amazing. Then we go to the next one. We have the Minister for Local Government, Mr. Toole. Mr. Toole is like the living impersonation, the living Peter Principle. He's the Peter Principle writ large across New South Wales. We asked him for the same set of documents. And what he said was, you've got them all. They're all in the public domain. He kind of forgot to ask the Department of Premier and Cabinet what they were telling us. And didn't reference the 25 documents. He said, you've got them all except for a business paper which we're not giving you. So the Minister doesn't even understand that there's another 24 documents out there that he's never seen that are meant to be, that have been used to underpin the costings. He hasn't even seen them. This is the guy who gets 400 grand a year to go and do a job on local government. What's the end outcome of this? Well, the end outcome of this is a conclusion that we're probably familiar with in Newcastle, that they're lying to us, they're not giving us the key documents, and their figures are not to be trusted. And every academic who has looked at council amalgamations in the history of New South Wales, Queensland and Victoria, where there's detailed studies of council amalgamations, has said this. They cost more than the government says,
They cost vastly more than any savings. You always see rates go up. You always see democracy diluted. And you always see pressures on services in the long run. They're bad for residents and they're bad for local government. So we've got to get submissions in by the 28th. We've got to get details about how they've failed to live up to the procedures. We've got to put the evidence there before these inquiries. But you should also rest assured that around the state, there are councils with money and lawyers ready to whack them. And there are good basis to whack them. And if we can press reset in the middle of a federal election campaign, they will be in a world of pain. And whilst it's strange to do this, if I was talking to Kate earlier, if there's a hard job in life, it's saying why Port Stephens Council should continue to exist and be there is only one reason I will tell you why Port Stephens Council should not be merged with Newcastle Council. It's because it'll just get worse and it won't get any better. They are Mackenzie, Macca and Co are chosen by the people of Port Stephens, and they should have the right to throw those mongrels out. That's the big point. And I'd say the same, remember when Newcastle had McCloy, and you threw him out, because you knew the nature of the beast, and you hounded him out of town. So well done to you. That needs to happen in Port Stephens. It won't get any better with a bigger council. It'll just become a harder job to throw the mongrels out in due course. You go to Kiama, you go to Guyra, you go down to Harden, you go to Tumbarumba. I've just come back from Dundalk. You go to Gloucester. There is a mutiny forming in New South Wales around the place. The passion is not as strong in Newcastle as I think it should be. But they are just about to declare the independent Republic of Kiama. And that's going to be followed by the Democratic Republic of Guyra, and by the Independent Republic of Tumbarumba, and by the Independent Republic of Gloucester. They are in a world of pain. Their party rooms, National and Liberal party rooms, are in a world of pain. And so they should. We need to add to the pain, we need to write the submissions, we need to keep the heat up, because I reckon we can knock this over. Thanks.